Whether you keep them in your home or love to see them in theirs, these are the creatures that bring us all together.
Reptiles. We're going to be delving into the experiences of reptile lovers from around the block and around the world. This is the Reptile Talk Podcast.
Boom. What is up, everybody? This is Jeremy Turgeon from Brassman Reptiles.
And I'm Rob, and I'm keeping it real.
And we're on day 2 of the doubleheader lifestyle right now. So
True.
So if you are checking us out on YouTube, you are getting a barrage of reptile talk right now, and we appreciate everybody for tuning in, everybody that's already here. And if you're listening audio only, you're hearing this in a couple weeks. And if you can't wait to see another episode, check out YouTube. Go check out YouTube. You'll see everything. Sometimes 3 episodes in a day. But woo. So this episode's definitely a bit of a different episode. Talking about our buddy Brian, and we all know what's going on, and we wanted to do an episode to just kind of reminisce about our friend and talk about some stories and some experiences. Rob and I have been lucky to know Brian for probably 15, 16 years or so. Yeah. So and we've had some amazing experiences with him and fun times, and I mean, there's no denying his impact in the industry, as well as just the impact with people in general. I mean, reaching people far outside the industry, and so we wanted to take some time and just kind of talk about that, just pay some respects, but also just relive some fun memories of Brian. And if you go back to our episode 100, we had Brian on, and it was a blast. And I showed a clip of the very first Snake Bites video that I was ever in back in 2011, when I had the horrible mustache of my existence. That was plastered for the entire world to see. But no, that was, for me, that was my first time getting to go out and visit Brian in Michigan at his place. And from there it was onward and upward for sure, all the way up to seeing him last month when I brought him that Amazon tree boa. There's so many things to talk about. So yeah, it might get emotional, guys. It might get emotional.
It's really wild just to think of how long he's been a part of our lives. Even like, I wasn't as close with Brian as you were, but I still talk to him every now and again, and and I'd see him out and about. He was always very kind and open with me. So it's so strange, because it goes back to the first time I met him was at a White Plains show.
Mm-hmm.
And 2007 or something, 2006 maybe, because I'm pretty sure I was still in high school. I just started making YouTube videos and stuff, and there's this other guy who's making YouTube videos, and he's getting really popular. He's got the old Snake Bites crew, and Chewy, and Sam and Kel and all them, man. Even the first time that he met me, he was just super, hey man, how's it going? Let's talk reptiles. He is a diehard, passionate reptile person, and no one can take that away. A lot of people think that YouTube celebrities, especially into the reptile stuff, a lot of them are just in it for the celebrity. And it's no, Brian has always been about the reptiles, man. He is, and he just has a kind of a business mindset. So
Right.
he was always thinking 2, 3, 4, 10 steps ahead in
Yeah. It's so
in
true.
whatever he had to do. Yeah, in whatever he had to do, you know.
Yeah.
And he has fostered interest in reptiles in way more people than we'll ever comprehend, you know.
It's true, man. It's true. I did a live stream talking about Brian with Gavin from the UK the other day, and we were talking about how like the reach that he had, to get people excited about animals, not just reptiles, but just animals in general, was astounding. And I think, we all recognized it, but also, I mean, it's hard not to when you look at any of his social media platforms. 5 million subs on YouTube, 1.8 million on Instagram, and blah blah blah. Like, there's a lot of people paying attention to this man. And I mean, I was taken aback by seeing the major news sources sharing about it. US Today, People Magazine, TMZ, the New York Times, like
Slash,
Slash, making a post about it. Like, geez, like it really just goes to show you the message, like the vast extent of the message that he was trying to reach. It carried so far, and that was insane, and I think one of the things that also made it like hard to take in was the fact that like he's our buddy. Like, we could just reach out to him and just be like, hey man, like, how's it going, dude? Like, haven't seen you in a while, or whatever. We see him at a reptile expo and it's hugs and nothing, is absolutely crazy, man. And thinking back, like, I also met him at White Plains in 2009, and I remember being so stoked, like running to my mom after watching that episodes of Snake Bites where he mentioned being at that show. I was like, we have to go to this show because I have to meet this man. And then like finally saw him and was like, I don't know what to say. But getting the chance to talk with him, and I think one of the things that stood out to me from that moment was, like anybody else vending a reptile show, you're there to, yes, certainly talk to your customer base, but also you're there to make sales, right? Like, the whole part of that is to make money, and he didn't care about that. Granted, he had a staff with him and everything, but there are people that are coming to see Brian, and you're probably going to be able to close a couple deals because you're Brian, and all you have to do is like talk to somebody. That didn't matter. If you were there to talk about reptiles, he was going to give you, an hour, 2 hours or more of his time to just geek out about reptiles with you. And I remember walking away from his table just kind of being like, wow, man, like, what time is it? Like, I spent a lot of time talking to this guy, like, and he doesn't even know who I am, that I've heard a lot of people say, like, he just had a way of making you feel like you were the most special person in the room in that moment. And that was so true. And think like fast forward a little bit, like I think the two of us at points ended up like working behind his booth multiple times. I remember like walking past his booth once, and he was like, hey, Jeremy, can you come here for a second? It's like, dude, I really just need to go pee. Like, could you just stand here? Yeah, just like watch. And then like, poor guy can't even get 20 feet from the table, and he's just surrounded by people, and he just comes back behind the table. I'm like, dude, you didn't go. You didn't go. He's like, dude, I'm not gonna make it all the way over there, man. I'll just hold it. And I'm just like, oh my god, dude, I can't fathom that, man. Like, if you gotta pee, go pee, dude.
Yeah.
I was like, you need a disguise. Oh man, but it was just crazy, man. Like, that same expo, I I didn't talk about this with Gav, and I meant to, but I'll mention it now. So that same show, you know, he brought a lot of the Snake Bites crew with him, Chewy and Kel and all those guys back then. And that was the same show. My mom got railed in the face by a blood python, a big adult blood python. And I remember, first of all, I remember laughing at the fact that it happened because I told her not to pick the snake up. But but I remember bringing her to the table and screaming at Chewy like, blood python to the face, beat that.
You can't beat that.
You can't beat it, man. You can't beat it at all, you know. But it was like the funny thing, you know, because Chewy was getting bit by everything. So it's like, yeah, you wanna get bit by something? Beat that, man. But and the funny thing is, like, years later, like we would still talk about it. Like, it would come up in conversation, you know. It was just one of those funny memories. Sorry, Mom.
Like, I don't think it was very funny.
Yeah, it was not very funny for her. But yeah, I mean, going up there to like spend a week and see the big BHB facility and get to hang with Brian and his family was an incredibly special moment of just witnessing more of Brian in that sense of like, yes, we certainly did reptile related things, but we also we just hung out. You know, we went during the 4th of July week, so we're hanging out at his in-laws, blowing up a quarter stick of dynamite in the backyard, you know, just for shits and giggles, you know, and we're going to see Transformers 3D in theaters, you know, because he's a big movie guy. But like those moments for me, I found myself just kind of like going back and looking at I have an album on Facebook of just some of those photos from back then. And I just went and looked back at some of those photos and was like, man, that was such a fun trip. Like I didn't care that the car broke down on the way back. I cared about like none of that. Like I was just living on like cloud 9. And then, you know, of course we all stay in touch. And then when I took the position at Nerd, I just remember talking with him and him being like, dude, I'm so happy for you, man. Like you're exactly what Kevin needs. And I think this is going to be great for you. And that meant so much, like coming from him, just being like, dude, you've known Crazy McCurley for my entire life, you know, so you've got a really solid say on what would probably be beneficial for him. So I was just like, damn, man, like that meant a lot. And to be able to call him in points where, like, when we reached out to him to talk about social media, like, hey, what's the best way to approach social media? And he was just so giving with information always. And that was something that I was forever grateful for. Like anytime I needed that advice or we needed something, it was like, oh yeah, I'll just shoot him a text, you know, and, you know, I don't want to bother him if he's in the middle of something, but within an hour, if he couldn't immediately answer the phone, you're getting a phone call, you know, from this guy who, as we just said, like is 2, 3, 4, 10 steps ahead of his next project. Always, you know, was nuts. Like, dude, I remember going to visit him. I walked in the door, and after saying hello, he like gave me a 20-minute spiel about NFTs and how he was trying to do NFTs relating to the Reptarium and all this stuff. And I was like, what the hell, man? Like, he's like, yeah, I've been planning this out for months, and we're gonna try to do this and make, you know, just got to figure out more ways to make it worthwhile. And I'm just sitting here like, man, you don't stop.
Yeah.
Like, you don't stop, dude. But it was insane. And I think visits to Nerd or some of the favorite times, like seeing him and Kevin interact is always fun. Number one, because they really are like the most opposite people. Like, we've known both of them for a long time.
Yeah.
So seeing them in the same room together talking is like, it's like the angel and the devil. Like it couldn't be much more opposite.
Oh man.
Gosh, right.
But there's so much information there between the two of them, you know?
Oh, dude. Like, shit, man. Just like there was the video that him and Kevin did, like the ranting about the industry or
Yeah.
whatever, right? And I remember like just listening to like tidbits of that while they were doing it and just being like, man, do you know how much history exists in these two guys' minds
Yeah.
of like both animal information, but also like the industry. Like you're talking about the generation of reptile keeper that brought reptile keeping to an industry level, like to a national industry level. And that's just insane. Like it really is just insane. I came across my TikTok the other day. I took a TikTok video when we were at Nerd we were going to pull some monitor eggs for a YouTube video. I don't remember if it was for a Snake Bites episode or one of our videos, but I remember I was taking a video of it and like Brian dropped an F-bomb. And I just turned my camera to him and he's like, I'm sorry I ruined your story. I was like, I work for this guy, man. Like that didn't ruin my story. It's just really funny whenever you say the F word.
Yeah, people forget that he's still a human being, you know?
Exactly, dude. But yeah, it was always special, like getting to see him, getting to hang out with him. Whether it was, him coming to Nerd or seeing him at a show or going out to his place, it was always a good time. Like he was always about having a good time and enjoying yourself, whether it was just like sitting there geeking out about reptiles for however long or just like hanging out.
Yeah.
And he was always genuinely interested in what you had going on, or like when the baking cupcakes were coming to the reptile show.
Oh, he knew. I remember one time, I think this is later, but like when they were doing a podcast, I just hopped in there and I was just like, hey man, hope everything's going cool. And he's in there with Lori and all them. And he's like, oh man, it's Rob, for the White Plains shows, blah, blah, blah. And Lori's like, I don't know if I know who that is. And he's like, Rob. And she's like, I don't think I do. And he's like, do you remember the cupcakes? And she was like, oh, I remember the cupcakes.
Oh man.
Oh my goodness.
It was a trademark, man.
It was.
Oh gosh.
But because like you're saying like he always made you feel like you're, the time you're spending is special, right?
Mm-hmm.
I remember that, when I was at Nerd and we would talk here and there, he's like, man, you got to come out. Like you can stay at my house. You're always welcome to come out here, man. You don't have to get a hotel. Like we always have space for you. I just want you to be able to come check things out. And one thing I feel just like really guilty about is that I never made the time to do it. I was just always so deep in my own work and my own stuff that I just,
Yeah.
But he was always, he always put it straight out there. He's like, man, if you just let me know a couple days and we'll have a space for you.
Yeah. Yeah, man. And he was, that was like a constant.
Yeah.
Right. Like even if you had been there before, it was like, dude, come back, come back. Like it was that offer was always on the table.
Yeah.
And first of all, we just got to go to the opening of the aquarium.
Yeah.
Like it's got to happen,
Yeah. As soon as they have a date, I'm putting in for that whole week off. I just want to just go and not be rushed and just, take it in.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%, dude. When I was there last month, him and Lori and Jay Tomsky and I went over to see the aquarium, and I had said to him, I was like, man, I don't know if you remember, but I was here when you found out that across the street was for sale. And I was like, I was trying to film something and I just needed to get 30 seconds of an outro with you. And you were like peering through the glass of the Reptarium to see the "We're moving" sign across the street. And you were just about to walk out the door. I was like, wait. I just did 30 seconds and then go play across the street till your heart's content. And I was like, I remember thinking as soon as you walked out the door that the next time I talked to you, you were going to own that building.
Yeah.
And sure as shit, I got that building, dude. I'm like, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
I'm 100% not surprised. But then I was like, the following time I came out was right after the front of that building had been torn down, so they could put the new facade up there. So the front was all still like boarded up.
Yeah.
And I was like, you walked me through this place, and when we walked in the door, we had to go all the way to the back to the breaker panel to turn on the lights. Like there was no switches, there was no like electrical, was like bare bones.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, you walked me through this place and you already knew what it was going to look like.
Yeah.
Like we talk about Brian as a visionary. Like there's very few people that I've ever come across in my life that like I could count it on one hand, the number of people that could walk into an empty space, an empty building, an empty room, whatever, and know exactly what it's supposed to look like.
Yeah.
And so he walked me through basically what the flow of the aquarium was supposed to be. And I was like, okay, like I'm with you. I can't see it, but I'm following you. Like I get exactly what you're saying, but I'm like, you have this mapped out like to a T.
Yeah.
And then going there this last time, seeing it all taking shape.
Yeah.
It was like the reptile section was still empty because they just got those enclosures in, but the mammal room's already being done, and the predator tank and the archerfish tank and all those things. I was like, holy Christ, dude. Like, I remember you walking me through all of this, and now it has risen from the concrete, and I was just like, man, like this is next level. Like I don't think there was ever a time where he was telling me about an idea, then I was just like, man, I don't know, man. Like that's really hard. It was always like, oh, if anybody's going to do it, you're going to do it.
Yeah.
And yeah, just seeing all of that come to life. Like I'd sent Mark a quick little video when I was there walking it with him, because I'm like, I don't know what they might have just filmed for a vlog or something like that, so I don't want to post a whole bunch of things on my story or anything. But I was like, man, I was like, babe, this is amazing, like I can't wait for you to come and check this out. And all I could do was just stare at every enclosure. I was like, man, he thought about each one of these enclosures so vividly, where he was just from nothing. That's the part that I don't think everybody totally understands when it comes to like how the legacy had been designed. Like from a totally blank slate of a store that was a grocery store and then a thrift shop and whatever, he has now made a friggin' aquarium with 25,000 gallon plus like tanks and exhibits, and it's just like, holy crap, man, like that is just next level. Like it really is next level. And then the day that I had left, he was at Legacy. He was sitting on top of the stairs of that big enclosure that people get to swim in, and it was like it was like a king just looking over everything, and I was just like, I could only imagine what was flowing through his mind and in that moment. I'm sure a million things were, but to finally see everything like coming to life is just like, I can't even imagine it, dude.
Yeah.
But that last trip for me was a trip that I knew I needed to make, but B, didn't know would be my last time to see him. And I think that's one of the things that for me has been the more challenging part.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was like, I remember reaching out to Jay Tomsky because I was like, I want to make sure he gets this snake because I know he wants it. Like there's Brian's that guy that's like, he can get whatever animal he wants.
Mm-hmm.
So for him to have reached out and been like, I want one of those, I was like, yeah, dude, absolutely, man, I got you. And so, but then I was like, I knew he had all the doctor's appointments and everything. Planning for the legacy was always like a day to day, you never know what's going to happen kind of thing. And I was like, I want to surprise him with this snake. Like, I don't care about the money, I don't care about any of that. Like, what that man has done for me as a mentor to me, but also just as a friend. I was like, I just want him to have the animal that he's geeked out about. Like that means everything. But I was like, so I want to surprise him with it, because he and I had never fully discussed details. We were like, I'll make sure you get it. So I had reached out to Jay Tomsky because I was like, the only other person that's going to know his schedule is going to be Lori. And I was like, she's got a million and
you don't
one
want to put
things
that
going
on her.
on. Yeah, I'm not trying to put it on her. So I reached out to Tomsky and I was like, hey man, I was like, give me a call when you got a chance. So he called me and I was like, so Brian had reached out to me a month or so ago and wanted one of these snakes, a few months ago, and wanted one of these snakes, and like, I just want to bring it up, but I don't know what his schedule is going to look like. And he was like, well, I'll tell you, man. He's like, I know Brian would love it, number one, but he's like, his schedule is so crazy right now. Like, it changes sometimes from day to day, with what's going on. And I was like, well, I'll tell you this. I said, I've got the whole first week of December open. I said, the only thing I can't do is that Saturday. So I was like, you tell me when. I don't care if it's the day before. You just tell me when, and I'll make the drive. And it was like a day and a half or so before, and he was like, hey, this day will work, nothing's really going on. And I was like, cool. So I got it in my head, taking this trip, we're gonna do it. And it's a 9.5 hour trip from Statesville. It's a long drive. Not as long as New Hampshire to Tinley, but it's a long drive. Yeah, but it was still a long drive. And so I got there, or as I'm on the way there, maybe like an hour out, Jay had texted me and was like, hey man, like, just want to check on your ETA. And I was like, yeah, I got about an hour left, almost there. He's like, cool. And then maybe 15-20 minutes later, he messaged me again and was like, hey, just want to see if your ETA is still the same. He's like, Brian's just really not feeling all that great. So if he's got to go, I just don't want you to miss him. And I was like, well, I'll put pedal to the metal, but also Michigan cops don't play, so I'm like, I'll do what I can. But also I'm like, if he needs to go home, I've got a hotel for the night, I'll come by tomorrow morning, or, whatever, like, we'll work. Yeah. And then, seeing when I finally got there, he was like, cool, I'm going to go grab Brian, because I don't think he wants to hang around too much longer. So seeing him come over, is always great. He had no idea that I was coming, which was that much better, about the whole situation. And to see the look on his face when I handed him that cup with the snake, I was like, it's worth it. Freaking worth it. 100% worth it. And it was, we chatted for a little bit, and then he was like, man, he's like, I need to I need to sit down. Like, you want to go down? Let's go downstairs to the podcast room, So, and then we talked about anything and everything that had nothing to do with his condition, which was exactly what I wanted. I wasn't there to hear about or talk about
chemo or
or any of that. I didn't want to talk clinical trial. I didn't want to talk any of that. I just wanted to hang out with my friend.
Yeah.
And so we went downstairs and we talked a little bit more about the tree boa, and then we talked about the state of the ball python economy. And just like anything and everything else. And then he was like, do you want to go see the aquarium? And I was like, yep, I absolutely do, man. And he was like, make sure you come by tomorrow before you hit the road. So went there the next day, and he certainly had more energy that morning than early afternoon when I got there the day before, and we just chatted for a little bit, and coming home, and like I said, it was a tough trip because it's never great to see somebody on a health decline at all, but the energy, like, we're talking about a man a month ago with everything going on, is filming, for the vlog, is across the street talking with the contractors, doing this, like, still 100% invested in everything that he's got going on. And I was like thinking back on that on the ride home and just being like, man, this is just who he is. Like, he's just built to do this and make sure that people are excited about animals. Like, that was the entire goal. And like I said, I didn't realize that it would be the last time that I saw him. And that has been probably the hardest pill to swallow. Yeah. But with that, it has forced me to look back and think about all of the great times, the memories, the stories, him coming to visit us at Nerd when there's a blizzard, like, he's like, we drove all the way through the snow, man. It's just like, oh God, all those times, dude, just to see a genuinely passionate person, both about animals and getting people excited about animals. Like, that was the mission, and he fulfilled it in such an amazing way, and pioneered so much of it.
Yeah.
Like, and one of the things I talked about with Gav was like, obviously all the firsts in ball pythons that so many of us are familiar with, but there's the whole lane of colubrid stuff that he pioneered and everything, and not too many people know about that stuff because obviously ball pythons are at the forefront of the industry. But the business firsts, the first company to do a color price list or all that stuff, like, consistently taking things to the next level.
Yeah,
that's it. When people have, if anybody's ever asked me, like, how would you describe Brian, I was like, always trying to take it to the next level.
Yeah.
Like, just crazy, dude.
And like, he wasn't just trying, he was doing.
Yes.
Like, there's certain people who, like, they try and they try and they try and they try and they try. And I, like, don't get me wrong, I'm sure that Brian has things that he felt like he didn't hit in the way that he wanted to. But man, talk about, like, accomplishment,
dude.
The things that he did.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I think about beginning of BHB for him. So albino Burmese python project, back in the, was it 80s, late 80s, early 90s. And going from that in his mom's basement to 30,000 square foot breeding facility with I don't even know how many animals, just an insane amount of animals and production and everything. As a reptile breeder, all of those accomplishments along the way, and then making that tailored shift and being like, you know, I still want to do this. I still want to breed snakes. I still want to work with animals, but really the love of production of film combined with like, oh, well, you know, obviously if I'm going to film a video and put it out on YouTube, people are going to see it, and probably not just reptile people. So what can I do that's going to be engaging, that gets people interested in these animals, you know, which is going to bring more people into the hobby. And it wasn't a method as a business ploy. It was like this genuine shift of like, I want people to be excited about these animals that I've been excited about my entire life. And every accomplishment since making that shift, it's just been a constant upward trajectory.
Yeah.
From the jump, which is, you know, which is insane to think about. And and it wasn't just with the animals, you know, like also a lot of people don't know that he had like multiple other avenues of business and ideas and all this stuff. And you know, not the last time I was up there, but probably a few times prior, we were talking about like all of his ideas and stuff, and he was like, man, he's like, yeah, but the one that sucked the most was the tipster, the drinking game thing that he was trying to launch, but he was trying to launch it, and then like COVID happened, and it was like, you know, nobody's getting together for social anything right now. You know, when he got like all of the pieces in to be able to bring to market to sell, and it's like, oh yeah, nothing's happening now. This is a bust. You know, this is a giant bust. But again, just like talking about something, trying something, and making it happen, like bringing it to fruition, like that was a specialty of his. Whether it was wildly successful, or, you know, if it was a bust, or not as successful for one reason or another, bringing an idea to life was what he did. You know, hell, Animal Con.
Yes.
You know, like that was something you wanted to launch, and then COVID happened, so it got put on hold. But you're talking about something when it comes to, especially since the original was focused on reptile people, you're talking about a non-expo event for reptile people to be around people. For the most part, that's not anything that interests reptile people at all. And not only did he manage to do it, it was incredibly successful. You know, to the point where people were like, oh yeah, now that I have like the full grasp of what this is supposed to be, I want to come back. Like now I can, you know, because a lot of us, we didn't really know how to describe what the event was going to be, so it was hard to promote. But then we go and do it, and we're like, oh, this is actually really cool. I want to make sure I tell, you know, my people I'm going to come back again, and I want more people to come. And then like everything doubles the next year, from the amount of creators to the amount of attendees and everything like that. And it's with all the different personalities that exist in this industry, we are quite familiar with many of them. For everybody to be able to put, for the most part, put all that stuff on the back burner and just come together in one space for a weekend and just focus more on animals and, you know, the people that are excited about animals and excited about, you know, what they have going on because they're subscribers or followers or whatever. He literally just came up with this idea, you know, from another experience, you know, from his like YouTube, like VidCon concept, and was like, how do we do this for animals or animal people? And birthed the idea that, you know, it is nuts. Like it's nuts to think about, and it's nuts to think about how incredibly successful it's been in just the 2 years it's existed, and I'm excited for this year's Animal Con because I know it's going to be a huge blow up of amazingness, and I know that all this support and everything that's going to be there is just going to be overwhelming. It's all just crazy to think about. So many people have been talking about like his legacy and what's it going to exist and as time moves forward. And the reality is he left such a large footprint both in the animal world, the social media world, like basically everything that he was heavily invested in. It's his legacy is enormous. It just kind of blows my mind because we don't, honestly, with the exception of Steve Irwin, and really it's kind of much it, like that reach and impact on the global level hasn't really existed. Which is kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah, as far as like personalities go, it has not been, because like, I mean, don't get me wrong, like Mark O'Shea, huge influential person, but still I don't feel like for people like me and you, Mark O'Shea is a very interesting person.
Yes.
But for the average person, they're gonna go, oh, this dude's going messing with some snakes, oh whatever. It's not as accessible to the average person, who knows nothing about reptiles. And right. Mark is an incredible human being, and there's other people as well who have made an impact. But like you're saying, the amount of reach that Brian had, that Steve had, is just like different,
Yeah. 100%.
And Brian always had time for the kids, for the people who looked up to him like that. When he came out to Nerd, I remember he was like, we don't really want to like tell a whole bunch of people who are going to be there. We want to kind of like, fly a little bit under the radar. But we were like, we have a couple kids who volunteer and they would really like to meet you. He's like, dude, bring them up here. Let's hang out. Let's talk.
Yeah.
And even when they were nervous to like talk to him, he was just there and like, hey, I appreciate you watching the videos. He was thanking them. Hey, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing if it wasn't for you guys,
Right. Yeah. And that's what made him so special.
Yeah.
Is just like, he always made the time, which, as we're talking about like all the things that he had going on, is like, how the hell do you have the time, dude? Yeah. The time, the mental capacity to handle all of that, like, is insane. And I mean, he always had that way of make you feeling special. Whether it was the first time you've met him or you've known him for 20 years, and that's one of those things that makes the impact and that makes his reach that impactful. Is just like, he wasn't the guy that's just out here shaking hands and kissing babies. He's like, he's invested in it.
Yeah. He would ask the kid, oh man, you like watching the videos? Well, like, what's your favorite animal? Let's talk about Elvis. Let's talk about Perdita. Let's talk about And I feel like a lot of people who are like influencers aren't there. I feel like they're just like, oh yeah, take a picture, I'm on to the next thing. It's just not the same,
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. It's like as much yeah. As much as he was invested in the animals, he was invested in the people.
Yeah.
And that, I agree, is something that the vast majority of influencers now are. Some of them aren't even about the animals; they're just about the attention. But a lot of them are like, they're more animal focused than anything else. They like can't be bothered, to go past a simple hello and like, oh yeah, let's take a photo real quick, and then boom, onto the next one. Like, it didn't matter if there was a line of people to see him. He was going to have a quick conversation with you, past, hey, it's great to meet you, thanks for watching the videos. Like, he was going to ask you something that made you feel like, what, you care about me, or like, what, what I think or what I have to say. And the reality is he did, man. I mean, at every vlog that was posted, like that first hour, he's like there responding to comments.
Yeah. And every time that I have messaged him or texted him, he's responded back.
Yep.
Every single time.
Same. Yeah. And it's crazy. It's like, dude, you have the time for that. Like, and we've also had time with him to see, like, no, he'll be on his phone, like he'll be responding to somebody's message or somebody's phone call or whatever, like he makes sure he makes the time, and that's just one of those things that really made him so special. Is just, it didn't matter how much was going on, and for those of us that did know him and had the chance to hang out with him in any sort of context or whatever, like if he had a lot happening, he'd either still make the time, or he'd let 100%, like, hey man, like today's I'm just swamped, like I want to hang, but like I got like 10 minutes, and then like I really got to dip. And even then, a lot of times 10 minutes would become like an hour, or something like that. Like he was so easy to get lost and caught up in that moment of whatever was going on. Like, he really did live for the moment, and that's something that I appreciated about him all the time, and like over the years, like I'd say probably over the last like 6 or 7 years, like he and I probably have talked more than all of the years prior to that. But in every single one of those moments, like, he was incredibly attentive and like remembered stuff from conversations we might have had, years past. And I'm like, man, there's not, like, those people are special people. Like, I don't even remember what I ate for breakfast this morning, let alone what conversation I had with you 5 years ago. Like, like, what are we doing? Oh, thank you, Limey. I've been paying attention to everybody in the comments. Limey said I was boring until about 6 years ago.
It's called character development. Okay.
Yeah, right. Some of us go through it faster than others, but Limey's still in character development. It's the only thing he's got is the accent. But oh gosh. But yeah, man, it was crazy. And I see it, there's a bunch of people in the comments here, and thank you for everybody that's jumping on. And I see some people are sharing some stories of when they met Brian, where they drove to meet him, or the experiences that they've had with him. And I mean, like, those are the things that keep his legacy moving forward, right? Is all of the people that have these experiences. There's, just a couple dozen people in here, and like comments are moving, of all these different experiences. Now multiply this by the world.
Yeah.
People in all these different countries that had these experiences with him. Like, that's just so special, and definitely the things that keep his memory alive and moving forward.
Yeah. I I heard a thing recently. You're never truly gone until the last person stops speaking your name.
Mm-hmm.
And Brian is going to be remembered for a very long time.
A very long time, dude. 100%. 100%. Man. I've seen, so I saw the goodbye video, right? And I was at the Pomona show and was saying to myself, like, I saw it get uploaded and said to myself, like, don't watch it. Don't watch it. And the other part of me that ended up winning that mental conversation was, you're about to walk into one of the biggest reptile shows. Everybody's going to talk about this. You need to at least have an idea of what it was so that you know what people are going to be talking about. Because if there's something in here that's a total curveball, given the gravity of the situation, like you're not going to be okay. So at least like prepare yourself. And dude, I watched it and two thoughts popped into my mind. I'm thankful I watched it to know, because I watched it in its entirety on the first run. I basically was like, deep breath, let's do it. Yeah. And first thought was, I'm glad I did that, so I'm aware of what is going on and what people will be talking about. Second thought, I'm so mad that I just watched this.
Yeah.
And I just remember like breaking down in the hotel room, realizing that like he was not gone in that moment, but we weren't going to see him.
Yeah.
And that was tough. And the following day, that the video that went up just as the tribute from the crew of like everything that he had done and those elements that he's leaving behind there. And again, I was just like, shouldn't have watched it, like, but felt like I needed to be prepared to be able to have conversations and stuff. And I remember seeing Brian Cusco walk through the doors, and we just kind of hugged, and it was one of those hugs where like, what's wrong. You don't have to say anything. You just, what's wrong. Maybe there's a tear that gets shed, but you're just like, I'm happy you're here right now. Like to be able to have this moment. And I jokingly said to a friend of mine, I was like, man, I knew this video was going to go up right before my first show with USARK to make me go through this on hard mode. Like that son of a bitch couldn't wait 3 more days. It was tough, but I know for me that I was just like, this is terrible, but my third immediate thought on it was everybody up there. Yeah. Lori, Noah, Jade, the whole crew, like everybody. My heart goes out to them. I was super, super bummed I couldn't get up to the walkthrough, the memorial walkthrough. It was just this week has been a super hectic and crazy week, and everything's just happened so fast.
Yeah.
But again, like I said, that's why it's like when it comes to the opening of the legacy, like just gotta go. Just gotta go. And I know it's going to be amazing, and I know that he's going to be there. I will tell you, if you have not paid attention to the vlog, for anybody that's in the comment section or listening at any point that is planning to go to the legacy, if you haven't paid attention, there's a couple hidden gems within the legacy that if you're not prepared for, you will probably start crying. And one is on the archerfish tank, the tree there's that sticks out on the back. The escape team put a heart in the tree with B plus L, and that was super sweet. And then I think it's on the mammal cages, Brian and Lori both have their handprint there, and it says the legacy begins, and then there's the date that Brian and Lori met. And those two pieces are incredibly special. And if you're not prepared, you will have a moment where you're just going to be like, I'm good. Let's go look at a sloth or something. Like, I need to put a cricket on there for the archerfish to grab, so I'm not crying about this. I'm crying about the dead cricket. Like, but I think those pieces in particular, of course, the grandeur of the aquarium is going to be impressive, but I think those couple little extra hidden elements make it that much more special. So if you're listening to this and you didn't see those vlogs, and you're not aware they exist, here's your heads up. Yeah. Especially if you're going to go on opening day when emotions will already be on a huge high. That being said, like I'm looking forward to the open. I'm looking forward to seeing his legacy, the legacy, be open for people to come in, and I'm excited thinking about all the people that are going to walk through those doors that are going to be newly inspired people.
Yeah.
Either inspired people to pursue a dream or inspired people about animals. Mm-hmm. Because who knows, the next person to carry that torch might be somebody that walks through those doors and has that experience that they've never had or never would get the chance to have anywhere else. I mean, we're talking about, you go swimming with stingrays. Like, come feed this giant arapaima. Like, there's just stuff that you don't get to do, on any given day or moment. Like, Brian, when I was there, we were taking a look at the mammals, the new mammals that had come in, and obviously I've been there, I've seen Drogo, I've got to like pet Drogo and everything like that, but Drogo is not the most handling sloth.
Yeah.
Like you go in there, take your picture, kind of pet him, like do whatever, feed him something, that's fine. But I got to hold Lilo, the new sloth, and when I tell you that animal just like immediately like nestled into my being, and I was like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing ever. Like, Brian took a picture of it and he sent it to me. And while I was in that moment, I was just like, man, this excites the crap out of me. And I've worked with animals basically my entire life, not sloths, but like this is just an experience that you're not ever going to get anywhere else. Yeah. And it got me excited thinking about the future, the next person that gets to have that experience, going into the Reptarium, the legacy, wherever it is, like you're never going to forget that. I think that's the that's the most exciting part of it. These experiences that he was so hyper focused on creating for people was literally like the element of a lifelong animal keeper trying to showcase to the public, to the world, what it's like to be us, in that regard of like I think he had said it on a vlog or a podcast a while back where it's like, for for him, for us, we get to work with these animals day in and day out. Right. So whether it's the animals we keep or we know somebody, we can just go and be like, oh, yeah, I want to take out, your 6-foot monitor lizard and do whatever. I want to roll around with it on the floor and whatever. For us, that's like an everyday thing, So when it comes to us getting the chance to do something else with an animal, it's like, oh, I want to hold it. I want to touch it. What else can I do with this animal? For the general public, just seeing it, like being a few feet away from it, is already super cool. Now you've provided that element to handle it, to get up close and personal with it and have an experience like that we're lucky to do on a day-to-day basis. Like that's that experience that's going to carry people on to the next part, to get them that much more excited about animals and all that. And like that really is like the most impactful part of the legacy.
Yeah, man. When I saw that video, I was just like, I already knew that I was like not prepared to watch it,
Mm-hmm.
And on the one hand, I'm really sad,
Yeah.
Just like deeply hurt losing one of my friends. And on the other hand, I'm just glad that he doesn't have to suffer anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Because you could hear it in his voice, man.
Yeah.
And it's just really tough, It just made me think a lot more, like, none of us really know how long we got left here. Like, I literally saw him last February at the Durham show.
Right.
Like, less than a year.
Yeah.
Everything changed.
Yeah.
And you're just never prepared for something like that, man. You can know that's coming. You're never prepared.
Right. Oh, 100%, dude. 100%. So I got a phone call to give me the heads up.
Yeah.
That he was gone. And I remember asking, I was like, how's everybody doing? Like,
yeah.
How's everybody holding up? And the response I got was kind of how I initially felt in the moment of like just hearing it, which was, everybody's very sad.
Yeah.
Of course, there's also like the element of relief in the fact that there's no more suffering.
Yeah.
That, it's no, this is not easy, but knowing that he's no longer in pain is the biggest solace in it. And initially, like I said, when I got the call, I was like, Yeah, that makes sense, and I'm glad to know that he's not suffering anymore. And then, maybe an hour after is when like the wave of emotion like hit and was just like, "Fuck, dude!" Like you just lost a great friend,
Yeah.
and like greater impact, social media impact, whatever meant nothing. It was like you just lost a really good friend,
Yeah.
and who exactly as you said, like a year ago, like you never would have known that we
Yeah.
would be in this place, in this space, or anything like that. Um, I mean, hell, even seeing him at Animal Con,
Yeah.
where like, we were none the wiser to the severity of where things were at. So we had seen, we were like, yeah, I mean, like outside of no ponytail, like it's Brian, man, and we're like, yeah, he's got a fight, but he's still got fight in him.
Yeah. He's still got. Yeah.
And we're like, fuck yeah, dude, like you're gonna freaking rock, you're gonna rock this, and you're gonna come out on the other side. And the people that I talked to immediately after my last visit up there, one of the things that I had said was noticing the decline from Animal Con to then, and knowing what I had learned through other private conversations I had with people that had spoken with him or had some other inside info, was just kind of like, wow. Because things happen so fast.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what makes it that much harder. Even being prepared, as you said, like you're never prepared for it to happen, but at the rate at which it also happened made it that much harder.
Yeah.
Because you witnessed him from a year ago being the person we all know and love, to being like, okay, what's going to happen next, to, oh, this is inevitable in what seems like the blink of an eye.
Yeah.
And it just, fucking life's not fair.
Yeah.
At all. And I talked to Kevin a little earlier today, and he and I had spoke maybe one or two times since, but this was probably the first time that I heard like hurt in his voice, which was hard for me to hear, because we've known Kevin for a very long time, and he's very much just like a nope, grin and bear it, and just kind of whatever, and plow through. And he was like, I haven't said anything about this, and I'm like, I know. And I was like, there's some people that know, and he's like, I understand what's gone on. He's like, I haven't watched the goodbye video, and he's like, I can't bring myself to do it, because as soon as I do it, it makes it real. He's like, as soon as I make a statement, it makes it real. And I was like, I get it. Like, it sucks. It sucks. And no, you don't want it to be real. Unfortunately, it is.
It is.
But yeah, having that conversation with him was tough today, because like I said, I could just tell that he's like, with each passing day now, it is sinking in. But there's that last little bit, like if I don't pay attention to it, then it's not real. And yeah, so folks watching, I know that I'd seen some comments. I don't know if it's from anybody here in the comments, but I had seen comments on some of the posts, and people like, well, Nerd hasn't made a statement. And my response after talking with Kevin is, people grieve differently, and it's hard for us to discuss it. And we're talking about somebody who knew Brian for as long as we've been alive, pretty much. And he just needs to process it. And it sucks. So give the dude a little time. But yeah, because he's feeling it, on top of all the other stresses that he'll talk about. It was just another element of frustration for him, but this is more weighted in sadness than anything else. So man.
Yeah.
Shit, dude.
Yeah. I know that he's still there.
Mm-hmm.
And if there is anything beyond what we're experiencing right now, I know that his presence is still in that place.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just goes to show, if you're listening, tell your people you love them.
100%. Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah. Nothing in life is guaranteed, and it is incredibly important to let people know that you love them, that you're there for them, that you got them.
Yeah.
Man. Whew. I need to go play with some snakes, man.
Yeah.
God. Yeah. I would encourage everybody to keep watching the vlogs, as that means a lot to Brian, and the crew over there is doing their damnedest to keep the content coming, keep you guys informed of what's going on, and showing you guys the progress, and keeping that element of his legacy moving forward. And if you want to get more involved, go over to the Reptarium's website, and they have a page there on ways to get more involved, ways to help with legacy and all of that stuff. So go check that out. Remember to continue to give the family space. Let them handle everything that they have to handle. It's a tough time for all of us that knew him, that were friends to him. It's a tougher time for them.
Yeah,
for sure. So, in the meantime, man, in the meantime, just keep sharing the love of animals with people.
that was the message.
That was the message. That was 100% the message. Just keep sharing the love of these animals with people, and be good to people. These are the things that matter the most to him.
Yeah.
And that's how we keep the legacy alive and thriving. Yeah. Is to take that message and carry it forward.
There is a lot of ugliness out there, and we can do something to change that.
100%. Man, on that note, I think we can call this.
Yeah.
So we can prospectively go bawl our eyes out on and then go play with snakes, and everything will be okay. But thank you guys, everybody that's here, that listened to this, everybody in the comments that was sharing stories and all of that. We appreciate you guys so much for all of your support, and we'll see you in the next one.
Catch you next time.